starting, and now we're live.
Oh, we're live.
Oh, we're so live. This is still the banner part because we have to build a quorum in YouTube. Yeah, and people have to tell us whether we actually sound good or not on the internet.
Fair enough. Hey, well, if we're gonna keep bannering, have you been to a Broncos game?
I have been to a Broncos game, and it was. Do you ever remember that like Ed Hockley game where the Chargers were playing the Broncos and Jay Cutler like throws the ball or is going to throw the ball, it just falls out of his hands. And
yep.
That was the one I've been to.
I went to when they played the Vikings. Go figure.
Surprise!
Oh, surprise! It was like $600 a ticket.
It's expensive.
It is. I was looking at Vikings tickets at US Bank, and I can get like lower corner end zone for $150.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Aren't even good. So
I just realized my pop-out chat thing doesn't even really work. Yes, I know we're live. Hello, Workhorse. Hello, XC Ben. Other dude. The other dude is TKolbo MTB. But and be sure to check him and James in the description real quick. Check those guys' channels out. Even though you look like all kids table guys here. But okay, yeah. So my pop-out chat thing's not going to work. Dang, that sucks. Oh well. I'm gonna be in my stream thing, and then I'll occasionally check the other chat as well. What's up, Brian? What's going on? All right. So now this is the part where I ramble on about some like intro thing that I just kind of make up as I get stretched out here, and that we have a quorum. We have a quorum.
Oh, a quorum.
We have a quorum. All right. Welcome everybody to the most recent Outdoor Gold live stream that you've ever been a part of. And in this stream, I'm really proud to tell you that I got James Stoup. James, did I say it right?
You got it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So number one, we're off to a great start on the live stream. And then we also got Travis Kolbo with TKolbo MTB. We'll be plugging their channels in a second. I just have some announcements. I forgot all my announcements, so I'm just kidding. But so real quick, we're down to the last kind of couple live streams of the spring and winter season. So can you hear me? Can you see me? Can anybody guess who that is? Either one of you.
I can't guess, but
No.
Okay. No, that would be Mo Awesome in a live stream. So it's one of his favorite words right there. What's up, Paul? Did you paint? I don't know. Oh, did I paint? I bought some really high and expensive end paint called a sheet that I put behind me. So yeah, I'm still in a outdoor shed. Ask Paul how dirty this thing is. It is a pinnacle of cleanliness out here, we'll just say.
But I like it. It is a pretty magnificent backdrop you got going on there.
It's super expensive. It kind of like the color black fits my personality, so I kind of went with that.
Yeah, mine too.
All right, so we're gonna hit on a couple topics. Every time I say that we're not gonna do like some kind of marathon live stream, it ends up being a marathon live stream, but not tonight. That is not gonna happen. There are gonna be some games on that I want to watch. I gotta watch some games. But joining me on tonight's live stream, we have James Stoup. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to say Stoup sometime, but it is Stoup. And James, why don't you plug your channel real quick?
Yeah, sure thing. Well, I'm James. I ride pretty much all over the U.S. Go travel and check out different places. My channel is mostly focused on racing. So I don't talk too much in my videos, at least the POV ones, but I got some reviews where I review some gear that works well for racing or stuff that doesn't work for racing. And then I also run a little web series of it's called Path of the Privateer, where I kind of get some of the background scenes of a regular guy and what I have to go through and the pain and just pain. It's just pain. That's pretty much it that I have to go through to get prepped for enduro race season. And I'm going to be doing some live streams of race results. So if you subscribe, you'll get to come in and check out some some live stream where we talk about my race results as they happen. I'll watch them at the same time as you guys do.
So real quick, James, XE Ben wonders what type of racing in the chat.
Enduro.
Okay.
Enduro or some downhill stage racing. XE racing's too much pedaling. I say that as I put in like 100 miles this week already, but whatever.
And Sedona miles is like double the miles by default already, double the miles. And I've seen while you were talking, I saw this smirk from Travis. I don't know if he wants to clarify, but
I mean, the other thing I'll point out is if I was doing XC racing, it would be pretty hilarious. I think my bike weighs like 36 pounds right now, so it'd be fun. That would be
the way to go. All right. Does anybody else? And if you have any questions for James, let me know in the chat, and we'll go back around. Oh, somebody already brought up hashtag Brian Vaughn. Yes. Speaking of hashtag Brian Vaughn, I know a guy who is ridden with Brian Vaughn. So Travis, why don't you give us your channel plug real quick, and we'll talk. Whatever. Give us your best Brian Vaughn memory.
Okay. I got a pretty good, sweet video of my best Brian Vaughn memory. He went and rode on a rock and wanted to meet that rock. So he went over the bars to say hello real quick. It's pretty good. You should check it out. It's probably like halfway through my Lebanon Hills video. And yeah, it's good. It's a good one. But anyway, my channel, I do a lot of POV stuff like everybody else, and it's all Wyoming based, so I don't know why I'm talking to this Coloradan guy here.
Oh no, right?
We're like mortal enemies. But I ride like in the wind every single day, all the time, and you'll hear me say it every single ride that it's freaking windy.
Is that why your hair is the way it is right now?
It was so windy driving home from work. Yeah. Well, thanks, Workhorse. Appreciate that. My wife's on here, and I think she's a babe. She says I'm a babe, but yeah.
We have that. We got the Crash and Dad also showed up, and of course Brian Vaughn. Brian says he had captured the crash better. Is that true, Travis?
Oh well, I mean, it was on his POV too, so it's pretty sweet, especially as you could see his face really well.
All right. Well, real quick, everybody, if you're out there and you do Instagram or something, just be sure to start hashtag Brian Vaughn. That would be a good start, and be sure to follow that hashtag as we go forward. But anyway, kind of going back, we'll stand on your channel, Travis. Okay. You've been doing some of your own music, haven't you, for like intros and stings and stuff?
Yeah. I try to do all my own music, and if I can't, then I try to use just my friends' music. And for the most part, it's worked out. There's been a couple videos lately that I had to use some royalty-free stuff, but I try not to. I try to be creative and get some exposure for my friends and myself, I guess. And it's music that nobody really would like anyway, so
I like it.
Yeah, that's the kind of music that I listen to, So I was kind of like, man, who's the artist? Well, you're looking at the artist or the friend of the artist. So no, it's all pretty cool stuff on there. And then kind of going over to you, James. I mean, you're doing a lot of traveling. I mean, what's the story with that?
Yeah, I mean, just I'm lucky to have the opportunity to do it. So, I work full time, which is, it pays the bills as it does for most people, but it also gives me the flexibility to kind of go out and check out new places and discover new areas and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to find the areas that have the best trails in them, and try to chase stuff that isn't freezing cold and covered in snow, so I can ride during the winter while you guys complain about it on your live streams.
That's that one thing, like when you're pandering to your viewership or whatever, go, oh, the weather's awful, and then like, while nobody's looking, I'm out skiing or something like that, totally having a horrible time. And stuff.
It's funny actually, because I'm not really one to stop and take a whole lot of pictures when I ride. Typically when I go out and ride, and I'm pretty much just riding and that's it. But I made sure to get a couple of quick snaps and post them up on my Instagram when I knew big storms were rolling through, just to keep everybody else on their toes.
It's pretty good.
Look at Travis shaking his head.
Hate you. I'm moving to Minnesota, of course.
Well, it's funny. So I ended up taking one picture, and I never ended up posting it. I'll see if I can post it now. But it was in Tucson, and Tucson surprisingly did get snow at one point. Yep. And the next day it was all gone. So when I climbed up to do Bug Springs, there was some snow there. So I got this sweet picture of my bike sitting in snow, and I was going to send it to Travis saying, hey, this reminds me of you, because it was literally the same week that everyone else got hammered with snow. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, and then real quick, I mean, why don't you guys plug your Instagrams, or at least your handles real quick? I mean, it's pretty hard, at TKolbo MTB.
You got it. Done.
Yeah, mine's my name. I like to keep it simple.
You know, and the complexity is just something that we try to avoid here. My buddy, it's always like really funny when you get to kind of read some, like when I throw ads onto a video or something. My buddy Cameron, he said the ad before the video was a bunch of girls in spandex throwing kettlebells around. I was like, I have no control over what the ads are. Thanks for the $1 super chat, XZ Ben. Be sure to check XZ Ben's channel out as well. And then kind of like to tie things in, I know I saw him up here, Ken with Arizona Dirt Life. He had a big old wreck in South Mountain, which is probably good for, it's a good place to try to draw a wreck. And yeah, that's just unfortunate, Ken. Hope you're getting better, and that the collarbone is coming back together.
Yeah, it sounds like you'll be back before you know it too, surprisingly. But hopefully, yeah, collarbones are no joke. I was sorry to hear that.
I'm convinced he's invincible. What were we going to say, Travis?
Oh, so I've only broken 5 collarbones.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
That's quite a lot.
You get 2, and then you break them more than once. It's good fun.
All right. So but you're moving to Minnesota, but before you move to Minnesota, well, actually, I guess you could tell us why you're moving to Minnesota, Travis. And then also, like, if you're going to Wyoming and you're going to Laramie, if you're going to Cowboys country, so to speak.
Yeah.
What are you riding in Wyoming?
What am I riding in Wyoming?
Well, what are you riding?
Well, I'm in southeast Wyoming, so a whole lot of Kurt Gowdy State Park. It's an IMBA Epic designation. So you should definitely get out there, check it out. There's everything from super beginner trails to some pretty gnarly steep chutes and just rocks galore. I mean, rocks everywhere. And then just about 10 minutes up the road is the Happy Jack recreation area, which has just a ton of trails ranging from like fire roads into some pretty technical stuff. And then you can go a little bit further into the snowies, and damn, it's really cool riding up there, but that's under feet of snow still. So yeah, nothing there.
And that's like some really kind of, I mean, off the beaten path, backwoods stuff that only I would want to ride. You know, that's kind of like
very primitive.
Yeah.
It's rad.
Yeah, that doesn't sound up my alley. I more prefer the big jumps up in the Tetons.
Oh, yeah, shut up.
I'm just kidding. So
James is raising the bar over here.
I like to give people a hard time sometimes, but it's always in good fun. Somebody gave Travis a hard time about a video he recently posted, saying they preferred jump trails to what he did, and they were like 6 hours away from where he was, and he was just kind of like, I would ride there every day too if it was 15 minutes away. Yeah. So
you called my trail cute. Come on.
The cute trails. It looks like it's got some pretty good features in it.
Oh, it
like
does.
Some drops and some places to totally wreck yourself.
Oh yeah, just wait till I get up into the skin and bones play area. Then you'll see some real fun stuff.
Oh man, yeah, that sounds pretty good. I mean, so far from your videos, it kind of like the terrain and as far as like Kurt Gowdy goes, it looks kind of like Hartman Rocks and Gunnison, like kind of similar, and like the brush and maybe the rock or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you've been seeing a lot more of the the stuff that's, has a lot more exposure and not in the trees, but there's quite a bit of stuff that's a little more thick in the woods. But Gouty never gets too crazy with the tree coverage, but you'll see more dirt and less rocks and some future stuff.
Sweet. Well, let's talk about something like maybe a little more meat and potatoes. I'm trying to make sure and stay caught up in the chat. Do they not allow action cameras from your chest or helmet mount during any type of enduro races? Maybe that's a question for James real quick before we start talking about suspension.
Yeah, I think it depends on the race. I raced the West Virginia Enduro Series last year, or at least a majority of it, and there were no issues with it. I think typically they'll call it out in the rules, but I think that's mostly like EWS, like real good riders that get into that. And yeah, UCI races too that you just mentioned. But I haven't run into an issue with it. And it might be some stage races, like some of the trans races and stuff like that, that might disallow that type of thing. But I've not run into an issue with it. And if I do run into an issue with it, I'll probably do it anyways. Because
yeah, of course, just be the rebel.
I mean, I'm trying to ride these trails and get good footage at the same time in my race run. So yeah, but I get why they don't want to do it. But yeah, I haven't had an issue.
Yeah, and it looks like the additional comment there from XE Ben was they stopped UCI races from having GoPros from the chest and helmet. Interesting. But anyway, let's kind of start digging into suspension and talk about that real quick. That was kind of like that's always kind of a hot topic. Everybody's asking about suspension, spring versus or coil versus air, all that other stuff. So why don't you tell us what you're riding, James, on your bike?
Coil, only coil. And I might have a different opinion than most people do, but I think unless you're racing cross country or yeah, I'm going to say pretty much if you're racing cross country, air makes sense, but I think majority of people, coil makes more sense. One, because like, unless you're shifting like 50 pounds of weight, you're not going to have to swap between springs all that much. Number one. Number two, it's plusher. Number three, like the weight's not that big a deal. Like the weight between a Cane Creek inline with a lightweight spring is about the same as air anyways. And like I mentioned, you get a more supple thing, or more supple stroke. So it eats up rock gardens and everything like that a lot better. So I always advocate for coil unless your frame can't fit it, or or you race XC. I think those are the only two cases you don't, especially because seals dry out and air springs. And if your air spring blows up, you can't ride anymore. But if my coil blows up, my spring still works, even if the damper doesn't. So gets you home.
Yeah, gets you home and all the other stuff. And we'll come back to that. Let's well, actually, real quick, tell us what specifically you're running on your bike for suspension.
Right. So I did have a DHX2 and I have a MRP ribbon coil up front. I'm over forked up front. But I pretty recently jumped and sprung for Marzocchi CR2, RC2, one of those things. Yeah, CR2. See, bike shop man knows what I'm talking about. And I sent that off to Avalanche Suspension. If you guys aren't familiar with who that is, they are a custom tuner based out of Connecticut, I think it is. And they'll take your shock and rebuild it completely for your weight, your riding style, and your bike's leverage ratio. So you can basically get really good suspension for about the cost of what it would cost to get like a DHX2, and it works better.
Sweet. So I'm going to kick that over. I'm going to kick kind of the same question over to Travis real quick, but real quick, before I get too far, my buddy Cameron, he said that he wants to go with a DHX2 because it's orange, matches his tire sealant, which is always like key. Like I think right now for tire sealant, I'm running Slime. So I don't know of many green forks out there that are non-DVO. But I guess that would be the option if I wanted to go there. Brian with Just Riding Trails, he's tuning his X2 right now. He loves it. And then now I think I'm caught up real quick. So, all right, Travis, what are you running for suspension on your pivot?
Okay, on my pivot, I have in the rear a DVO Topaz T3, which I got rid of my X2 for.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to have a long discussion about that after, like, here in a minute.
Okay. And then in the front, I'm running a Fox 36 with the push ACS3 coil conversion because I too believe coil is greater than air.
Whoa, that's we got. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm pro air, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to take down our pro coil guys in a debate on this one. But
No,
so you got
not.
so again you got Bob. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I'd say, and we can settle the argument real quickly, is would you rather be a coil head or an airhead?
Well, I'm already an airhead. I mean, that's not even
I'm just kidding.
we were talking before, and I was joking around, and I kind of gave out an oxymoron, and James pointed that out, and I said, well, James, you got the oxy part, but when you're looking at me, there is no oxy part. It's just the moron. So I like to poke fun at myself all the time. So I do a lot of trolling on the internet with other YouTubers out there. I should be able to troll myself a little bit just to keep it fair. Steve, why? What is up?
RC, you need to meet our buddy Toj. If you want
anybody with the name Toj sounds
He's next level troll.
next level troll.
Next level troll.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy and a strong writer.
So there's always somebody out there. There's always somebody. So, also, actually, we're going to talk about your video in a minute, Travis. But real quick, one of the first videos that I've ever seen of James was for a push 11.6. Could you give us a little bit of a briefing on that, James?
Yeah. So I used to have a Nolly Delirium. I didn't freeze, did I? It looked like I froze for a second.
You're good.
So I used to have a Nolly Delirium. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a free ride or a downhill bike. It can go from 170 to 200 up front. So party bike, 170 in the rear. I did have an X2 on it, but having ridden custom tune suspension before, I just couldn't ever get the X2 dialed in the way I wanted to, or the 36 I had on it. So I said, screw this. I'm just found a good deal at a bike swap on a 11.6 and sent it off to push for a tune. And an ACS3 conversion kept up in the fork, and it completely transformed the bike. And of course, that was my most watched video. It's probably got 100 times more views on that video than any of my other ones. But yeah, I mean, the big reason why I did it is because I had two bikes at the time, and they both kind of did double duty about sort of the same thing. So I wanted the Delirium to be more of a bruiser that could take on big hits and almost be a park bike for the days I rode park, but still be able to pedal and everything like that. And yeah, got it, loved it, ran awesome, but ended up selling the bike and couldn't keep it.
And that was essentially moved you on from the push. So was there anything that really set that apart? I mean, did you find remarkable performance with the 11.6?
So some people might think this is a little blasphemy, but Push makes good products. Avalanche makes good products. What you're buying with an 11.6 isn't necessarily the coil shock. It is a coil shock, and you are getting that, but what you're really buying is two custom tunes built specifically for your weight, your riding style, and your leverage ratio. That's what you're buying. And so regardless of whether you go air or coil, a custom tune is going to get you more performance. And by more performance, it's more than anything just going to make you feel more comfortable on the bike, which is going to give you more performance through that weird psychology thing of you feeling comfortable. Now you can go faster type deal. Yeah. But you can throw, if you know what you're doing, you can throw any awesome rider on a crappy shock and they'll still run circles around you. But the biggest thing, whether you go with Push or whether you go with somebody else to custom tune something, whether it's air or coil, you'll notice a huge improvement. And so my suggestion to most folks is, if you're looking to upgrade your suspension, look at getting a custom tune. Don't buy a brand new OEM shock, because then you're just buying something else off the market that is going to fit somebody that's between 170 to 180 pounds in weight, and they don't know what kind of bike you're riding, so they don't know what the leverage curve looks like, and you're going to be stuck with something that tries to work good for everything, but in actuality doesn't work awesome for you.
And that's really, really good advice right there. Just staying on top of that. Like, I've never actually had any of my suspension pro-tuned, so to speak. I've ridden some suspension that has been pro-tuned. It's like there's always something different about it, you know. There's always like a different feel. Like Öhlins, I was riding a Yeti SB150 the other day, and it had a custom tuned Öhlins fork. I'm like, man, that felt pretty good, and it really impressed me. But speaking of custom tunes, Travis, he's got a new video out there, newer video. It's been out for a couple days, but I mean, he's got a video out there where he went with a custom tuned DVO Topaz.
Yeah. So I'm right there with James. There is, I say the coil is greater than air, but I think that custom tune is greater than coil, which is greater than air. And if you can get a custom tune coil, then you're in the business. But my pivot, unfortunately, the clevis on it, the yoke, side loads coil shocks too much and snaps the shafts. So I can't run a coil, and that's why I went the Topaz versus like a Jade or the MRP Hazard or anything like that. But what made me go towards that DVO is that, hey, they offer a free custom tune if you call them up. So when I purchased the shock, I just called them, gave them like my riding style, my weight, what kind of bike I have, and they were able to do that custom tune before they even shipped it out. So I had like zero downtime, and they accounted for the leverage ratio on my bike, which is extremely progressive. Like something like a Canfield, the leverage ratio is like so linear, and this thing is like, whoop, it's insane. So they were able to kind of tone that down and give it a more linear feel, which is something I prefer, and made it feel a little more like a coil, but being air still. So anytime you can custom tune, and I say about 1 million times in that video.
What do you say?
That video was pretty funny though. Like, I gotta like have a real life comment on that video real quick.
Yeah.
When we pull out the DVO fanboy, that's when I just started losing it. I was so good. So good.
Every part of that was comedy cringe gold.
That was the plan, so I'm glad it worked out that way. All my friends were like, "Oh, dude, you looked like an idiot." I'm like, "Well, yeah, that was the plan."
That's how it works on the internet.
Yeah. And they're sitting there like, I was just like, and good, goal achieved.
No, it was good. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, how long have you been running the DVO for in the rear?
Oh, I'd say about, I don't know now. I don't know, like a month and a half, 2 months. Does that sound right?
You lost count with all that work and all that school and stuff.
All that school, all that work, all them kids, living life and not on a bike.
What's that like? Sorry.
Must be nice. Must be nice over there, traveling around in your RV, riding whenever you feel like it. 100 miles this week. Good for you. I got 18 and it was rough to do.
Is that why you keep making my my strength program so hard?
Yeah.
So you hope I can't ride?
You keep rubbing it in. They're just gonna get harder and harder, boy.
And then tomorrow you're gonna be horseback riding, and
bareback too.
Bareback.
Oh man.
Oh,
a different kind of taint punishment.
It sounds like a good shut up. Do any of you guys follow Shut Up and Ride MTB? It used to be Mountain Bike Advice.
Yes.
One of his most favorite, one of my most favorite quotes is like, he had this how to soul surf your mountain bike thing, and there was something about sitting on the seat too long, and you guys get the rest, I guess. But anyway. Now you had me real good there, Travis. You had me real good. But real quick, Yes. So you went from the X2 to the DVO.
I did.
Which I had been wanting to make a video about for like since like last fall. And I mean, what was one of the what if you were to like put a nail on one part, what would be the reasoning that you went and left the X2, which I think is really good air shock to go to the DVO? Because I bet I'm with you on that one too.
So the biggest thing is if you have idle hands and you're a tinkerer, if that word makes sense.
Yes.
Then you're going to sit there and you're going to turn those knobs until that X2 feels like absolute crap. And if for some reason it doesn't matter, you could count your clicks, but you put them back and it still doesn't feel where it felt. So I just kept ruining the way that thing felt, and I just couldn't find anything happy. So I went the DVO because got that custom tune and simplified everything. Now I don't have all these knobs, so I can't screw everything up, and that's great.
And you know, that's kind of I've had that same problem with the X2 because I mean I've been thinking about making a video about it, but I haven't pulled the trigger or filmed it. Script has been written, but it's the maintenance cost on that thing.
Jesus.
I know, right? It's just like you take that in, and the only way to change the seals out inside of that is to take the damper apart, and that's I mean.
The other thing I'll throw out there too, I mean, the DHX2 and the X2 are basically the same shock. One's just coil and one's not. My previous bike, before I got this bike, which came with the DHX2, I blew up the X2 damper on. And I don't know how I managed to do it, but I did it. Not to mention, as Travis mentioned, changing clicks until it feels like garbage, and then it just always feels like garbage. Right? The DHX2 wasn't much better, but it was better because it was coil, but not a ton better. I also blew up that damper too. So I don't know what it is with me and Fox's dampers, but they don't agree at all. It's at the point where you push down on it and squishes. So now I got to pay like whatever their cost is to get the whole thing rebuilt so it doesn't squish and doesn't have air inside of it and actually like works like a shock is supposed to do again.
Stops gurgling at you.
Yeah, all that cavitation and stuff. It's never a good sound. So I mean, you've had that shock for a while. How often does it have to be serviced in the damper on a DHX2?
It depends what you want to do. I mean, like an air shock, if the damper's not broken and you're okay with its performance, keep riding it. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same as the X2. I think it's 100. Is it 100 hours or 200 hours? 200 hours, I think.
200 for the damper rebuild.
Yeah, which I mean, for me, would be absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's no way. Like, I mean, I put in a lot of hours. I'm not trying to poke it. I'm not. I see you smiling. I'm not trying to poke it. I just like
horseback riding, huh?
I'd have to rebuild it like every 3 months or 4 months. Like it would be ridiculous. There's no way. And I mean, a big part of that is that mine was spurting oil out, so obviously damper broken. So yeah, it's not much different, but unlike the air shock, right? If your air spring kind of blows up and the seals are bad, you do have to do service on that. Where I don't, on a coil shock, short of the spring breaking, there isn't much maintenance that goes into it. So your maintenance is pretty low on all of them. And DHX2, yeah, you have to rebuild like an X2, so you've got to go through that whole painful process. And I think there is a way to do it without using that crazy bleed machine. But how well that actually works is another story. I don't know. But I think doing kind of your shimmed valves, for people who don't know, shims are basically like little washers. You can think of them with varying thicknesses and radiuses and diameters and all that fun stuff. And those are a little bit easier to rebuild than your X2, DHX2, Cane Creek twin tube dampers.
Yeah, and the amount of if you do want to do it yourself and decide to do whatever the bypass or the workaround for that crazy machine, the amount of specialty tools or different like soft jaws you need to get that X2 apart is pretty ridiculous. Like, it's an unreal rebuild, even just for a can service.
Yeah. And it's like extremely labor intensive from everything that I've seen. It's just not like something that you can do and say, oh, I'm going to do this in 20 minutes. It looks like it takes 2 hours for even the most experienced suspension mechanic out there. I really, really want to, especially on my Yeti, I want to go back to a standard air can on that going into the future. But I need to go see if I could sell off my too after bashing it or whatever, you know. At the number one, it's probably the best rear air shock that I've ever had. Maintenance costs over long term are pretty difficult, especially at $200, which is basically a third of the cost of the entire shock. So things like things that when you go to buy like new parts and new components, some things get missed in there, and that's definitely one. It's like even like dropper posts. Like if you have a Fox transfer and you have a bike shop that can service a Fox transfer, as much as I like the Fox transfer, it's going to cost quite a bit. Whereas like some other dropper posts are literally just changing an air cartridge out, which is, I mean, going to be a lot cheaper. The price of the air cartridge is like anywhere between $25 and $50, depending on your model and whatnot. Whereas a Fox transfer is going to be more labor intensive and such. You guys have anything to add on that point?
Not really.
Crickets. Nice.
It sucks. DHX2 or the X2, whatever. You know, your best bet's to send it in to Fox. A lot of shops actually will work on it, but then they'll be like, "Oh, we don't guarantee our service on it because it's that intense." So your best bet is to send it to Fox, and then guess what? You're stuck with a lot of downtime where your bike can't do you any good, and that's pretty awful. But speaking of that, I do have a D8 or an X2 for sale if anybody wants one.
Sounds like there might be a second one soon too.
Exactly. Yeah, there's gonna be two X2s for sale. Great.
And maybe a DHX2 once I send it in for warranty.
Is that, are you going to send it in for warranty a second time, or is it running good and everything?
Well, I have to send it into warranty for the first time. The other one was an X2, so two completely different shocks that I blew up the same way. But yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'll add on is, for me personally, like, I won't pick up products if I can't service or work on them myself. If I can't get the parts myself, then I don't pick it up. And obviously there's some things I can't do that with, like a shock. There's not really a whole lot I can do there, but a fork, I went with MRP because they are awesome guys to work with. I reach out via email, and generally they get back to me within 24 hours, and I can get any small part I need and rebuild it and do everything myself and not have to worry about it. So if, you know, something breaks last minute on me, I can be taken care of pretty quickly.
And, you know, having a ribbon, it's probably one of the easiest forks maybe on the market to service yourself. I don't know if you guys could, I mean, James maybe has other experience with other forks, but it's pretty dang easy to do a self-service on especially on the ribbon, as far as I run it. And I mean, you get good customer service and all that stuff from those guys too. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, if I didn't keep losing tools and parts when I took it apart, it'd probably take me about 10 minutes to do. But typically after that takes about an hour job.
I don't know, James, I watched that live stream of you rebuilding it, and you ratcheted on that thing for I don't know how long.
That's true, I did. I don't remember. Oh, I'm pretty sure I swapped springs, so that took a little bit longer.
Well, looks like you might have a buyer in Brian Vaughn, Travis.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to fit.
Oh, he's going to have to. It's going to be a short shock situation. And then Brian Peterson, as in Just Riding Trails, he says a lot of shops won't touch an X2, and that's true. But there's getting to be more and more that are willing to touch it. So, like in Grand Junction here, Ruby Canyon, who I work with a lot in making content, they actually just serviced my X2, and it feels amazing. It's great. Now I just need to sell it. And then also, like, additionally, like a Fox transfer, I actually had Over the Edge in Fruta do the service on that because it got squishy. And that was the first they've ever done, but once they figured it out, it's been bomb proof. So they did a really good job there. And more bike shops are going to get in line with with servicing that suspension. But I cannot agree with James anymore, because this is the point where there's a point in mountain biking where you get to a spot and you think, I probably should do some of this myself. I won't be able to do all of it myself, but I probably should do some of this myself. And I'm with James. Like, I want to get to the point where I'm doing bearing services and all that other stuff to my own suspension on my own. Just because, like, if you're on the road, did that part of that for you, James, come from just being out on the road all the time?
Yep. And I've had bad experiences with a lot of shops, unfortunately. I've lived outside of DC and in Denver, and I've just had bad experiences with shops, and I don't need to drop any names, but on the East Coast, it's more just because there isn't a huge community in like the DC area. And the one that is more like XC. So it's road and XC focused. So going in to get any suspension stuff done or any parts ordered, like I've gone into a shop and had them order parts for me, and then they never ordered them, even though I followed up 3 times. And it's like, why am I going here into a shop if they're not even going to order what I'm asking to order? Mm-hmm. So dropped that product, dropped that shot. And then in Colorado, I kind of ran into the same thing, where, take my bike in to get some service done on some part or something like that. And they'd get halfway through it, sit on it for a week. And I'm wondering why it's taking a week to have a quick rebuild done on a dropper post or something like that. Yeah. And I mean, especially in the Denver area, there's no excuse or reason to do that, because there are like 200 shops in that greater Denver area. Like, you do stuff like that, you're going to go out of business real quick, because there's 2 other bike shops within 2 miles of where you are. So yeah, just frustrations with that. And the other thing too is, I mean, much like working on a car, if you do the work yourself, you know that it's done right, or as right as you can do it, and you're comfortable. You haven't forgotten or missed anything that somebody else may have overlooked or something like that. And not to say all bike shops are bad, because they certainly are not. My experiences have just been poor more often than they've been good.
Mm-hmm. And real quick, just we'll go back into that point in just a second. With in our chat, we got Hunt Style in the chat. Always good to see Matt, one of my favorite Matts that I like to troll. He's in the chat. Steve Weiss says service on a DVO Diamond is mad easy. Kenny, good to see you in the chat as well. You had thoughts on a Marcosi? It looks like a Z2. Do any of you guys have any experience around a Marcosi or whatever?
No, but I have an opinion, which is it's basically a Fox damper rebranded, so it's not really a Marzocchi anymore. I mean, they have this new rail damper, so I'm assuming they probably built a budget damper that doesn't work as well. Like they tried to do with the grip, but the grip actually did work fairly well. So yeah, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, understand it's a Fox shock and not actually Marzocchi anymore.
And that could be. Oh, go ahead, Travis. Well, real quick, I'm going to say that. Well, that could actually kind of be. I mean, if you're taking that opinion, I mean, I'd say that'd be a benefit to the brand itself.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it. I know there's a bunch of Marzocchi or Marzocchi, however you pronounce it.
Whatever it is, yeah. It's like trying to pronounce your last name or my last name. It's either Stoup or
Exactly.
Okay, real quick, Travis has something to say. I need to let.
Him. Well, I was gonna say, yeah, if you're wanting to order some parts for your Marzocchi, you just call it Fox Direct. It straight up is Fox.
I did not know that, so I totally learned something in this stream.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if it's an older fork, they don't have any of the parts for it. I had a 888 when I had a downhill bike and called them up because I needed something, and yeah, nothing. So
and then DVO used to be. I mean, I think didn't some of those guys come out of Marzocchi or whatever?
Yeah, so Bryson Martin Sr. and Jr. came out of Marzocchi, and took some of the good parts of that and re-engineered a few other things. I mean, DVO is not doing anything that is just like absolutely like
Groundbreaking,
just crazy stuff. You know, they're not pushing the line; they're just refining what was already there and making it work and making it easy for everybody. Like somebody said earlier, the DVO Diamond service is stupid easy. So is the Topaz the rear. I mean, literally in like 2 minutes, you can do a volume spacer change on the trail. It's just crazy the things they do just to make it serviceable and easy to work with. And you know what? They work really good too.
And you know that's a lot of this is going to come around. Does anybody have any experience with like I'm seeing more and more sun tours in some entry models? Does anybody have any of more perspective on a sun tour fork?
So one of my buddies has an R-on, and he went and did one of the big mountain enduros at Winter Park and blew the rebound damper right off on the first run, right out the bottom of it. Nice thing was is that you can ghetto fix it with a rebound damper from Fox. So I don't know, that's something. Just know that you ruin that fork and ruin the warranty on it if you do that. But otherwise, not a whole lot of experience.
Yep. And
I've not heard much bad things, and I've heard surprisingly fairly positive things about them. But yeah, I've no direct experience with them, but I've heard their high-end stuff is actually pretty decent.
And, you know, it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, where did this come from? I mean, it seems like maybe 5 years, if it had like kind of like stainless steel stanchions, I like automatically just discounted it as junk. And then some of those brands, I mean, they move forward and they seem like they're getting a lot more competitive out there. If you ask me, in the suspension market, or people are just that curious in them. I mean, I've run the MRP ribbon, and I think it's like, I mean, probably one of the best trail forks, enduro forks that you could run out there. But it's gonna, I would also stress to say, well, it also kind of depends on what you're doing overall and stuff. I mean, I don't know if you share that same sentiment, James, about the ribbon. Tell me what your thoughts on the ribbon are. Plus, a little bit about the coil, and does the ramp control affect the coil?
Yeah. So I was running a stage prior to running the ribbon, so I've got experience.
I love the stage, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had to insert that real quick. I mean, I love the stage. I like the ribbon too, but man, I really like the stage.
Yeah, so I got the 2017 version of the stage, which is essentially a ribbon. It's got completely separate positive and negative chambers that you don't need to equalize. They've got air ports on the top and the bottom. So I think that was the only model year where they actually did that with the stage. And I liked that fork quite a lot. And I like the ribbon coil a lot too. The only thing I would like to see on MRP's forks is the ability to have a more custom or tunable high-speed compression circuit. Just because there's not really a way to do it. You can do it with the ramp control to some degree, but it's not really the same. But that, other than that, like that, I love the fork. And on the coil, there's definitely a difference, and you can feel the ramp control on it. And it's not nearly as much as what it was on the air forks. So on the stage, it made a much bigger difference. But you can definitely still tell, because I'll huck my bike off bigger drops and push it up, and it won't blow through the travel and leave it open. Otherwise, it's good. Yeah, I like it a lot. High speed compression is the only thing I would really want to see in an MRP fork.
Is it one of the better troll comments that I get in there is James Stoup. Sounds like you need a revalving. I live and die by great comments out there. But Chump, thanks for the $10 super chat, and I hope everything is going great out there in the world of Flagstaff, Arizona, Sedona, Arizona. So And did I miss the push-up contest yet? There will be no push-up contest. And pro tip for anybody that is watching the internet, do not challenge Robert to a push-up contest, as in being biker. He will. He's pretty good at push-ups. He can do a lot of.
Is the stuff in Flagstaff open yet? That's no go away yet?
That's
probably going to take a while to get that response, but
there'll be a little bit of latency. But let us know, Chump, if that stuff in Flagstaff is open. He made it sound like there's going to be a lot of logging or something like that back there, and that he was going to have some issues going into the summer with riding, but maybe not yet. Real quick, staying into the chat before we keep going in a couple topics. Let's see. Always 5 I do a lot of mumbling, reading through it. Okay, real quick. I want to say this. I know you can get like 100 to 200 hours, like the factory recommends for running a rear service on your rear shock, but I just say you probably need to do it once a season. I mean, that's probably a good rule of thumb for a fork. Service the fork twice a season or twice a year. So rear shock, I'd say for most people, once a year, fork twice a year. Do you guys have anything to add on that?
I'm bad at service intervals, so I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, right. You're one of those guys that sells your bike before you ever get to the service interval.
Oh yeah, I mean it's way easier to deal with that way. Plus you get that new.
I mean, when you consider the cost of a new shock with a custom tune and selling the old one, you know, you're not really losing out a whole lot anyways. So
yeah, right.
That works for some people, same way it works for selling a bike and getting a new one every year too. But I'm lucky I have a coil shock, so I don't need to do any service on that until it blows up or performance degrades. On the fork, though, as quick as a lower service is, I do it every 4 weeks with as much as I ride. And it depends on your conditions. But yeah, every 4 weeks for me.
If you're doing it like every 4 weeks, I mean, at that point, you better be doing it yourself. And I mean, obviously, I know that you are doing it yourself, but I'm saying like to the general audience, like, if you're getting that kind of interval, you change the wiper seals every time, or are you just doing a bath oil change?
No, wiper seals, I look at them and make sure they're still good. Like if they're not cracked and they don't look like they're starting to deteriorate, I leave them. There's no point in doing it. Foam rings I'll try to pull out, and those can get damaged easier. So I will ask MRP for those when I need need new ones. And that happened pretty recently. I had one that ended up like starting to rip, so made a good sense to change them. But yeah,
but it's just kind of like, and then do you ever and how often do you change those foam rings?
Once they're bad.
Once they're bad,
yeah, like once they're ripped, then I'll take them out. Generally, I'll try to pull them out when I'm doing the service and try to clean them, use some alcohol, and get like some of the dirt, because they'll collect dirt. That's what their job is. But yeah, if I can't get it clean or I rip them, then yeah, it's probably time to get new ones for the next service.
And then there's kind of like one thing that I would, unless you guys could help me out here. So I do have a Fox 36, and it left my Yeti and now it lives on my Evil. But one of the biggest problems that I've always kind of been annoyed about is I can never find like new foam rings. I feel like my wiper seals are still good and that they still have some life in there, and I can just clean them and grease them and do all that other stuff. But it's just like finding new foam rings. I can't find new foam rings. Now, Rock Shock, the one thing that I really like about SRAM, Rock Shock, Lyric, Pike, etc., is that you can buy like the foam rings individually, I think. Which, I mean, just makes it so that way if you go and do a bath oil change, you put new foam rings on every time you do that. I don't know if you guys have any extra commentary in there on that.
Email me.
Okay.
I'll get you hooked up.
Oh, email. Okay. And then also I'm waiting for your first no comment, Travis. We're waiting for the,
okay.
When we give you your deposition at the end of this.
You'll get it. Don't worry.
Okay, good. and then real quick in the chat, it was kind of funny because a lot of people, if you're new to mountain biking, people literally don't know that you should be servicing your suspension every once in a while, I guess, is what we determined that to be. And you would be amazed at how much more performance, how better and more smooth your suspension is after it's been serviced. I've had night and day differences every single time I've done it. And it's just like one of my favorite cases is I had my ribbon serviced. It was getting looked at for like a creak in one of the stanchions, and that creak didn't exist. Unfortunately, I got it back, so it was nice, all slick, all smooth, and I was taking it on the ribbon. And I'll tell you what, I put all the air pressures that I had kind of prior to it being serviced, and those air pressures were no good anymore for a freshly slick MRP ribbon. And I was half scared for that ride. I was like, I wished I brought a shock pump because it needed a lot more air. Full ramp control, full compression on it. I feel like it kind of it changed the way it rode. So if you do get it serviced, you might have to change a few of your settings. Did somebody get struck by lightning?
Yeah, James did.
Oh, sorry, James.
So RC, if you rode coil, you wouldn't have to worry about that as much.
That's what I'm picking up here, but maybe someday. I still yeah.
That's why I suggest most people do it, because most people don't service their suspension. They can't be bothered, or they think it's too expensive, and so it's a really good fit for most people who don't do that and don't take care of their suspension, because it is truly a set and forget type situation where you don't have to deal with any maintenance. And especially with a air can, if your bike's sitting for X period of time, those seals dry out. Yep. There's not as many seals with a coil shock, and they're all touching oil, so they're far less likely to dry out and cause you issues.
And that was one of your best points that you've made all night. So you do get seals to dry out on
Wait, you mean the increased performance and better small bump compliance isn't the selling point?
All about seals. I mean, everybody knows that you're gonna get better small bump compliance on a coil. I mean, that's just given. That's right out of the book. But the seals was news to me. I was really interested with that. So it's with the air fork or shock, you're gonna have drier seals if they sit, huh?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I can send you guys a link to a seal kit for a coil shock, and then a seal kit for a air kit, and there's 4 times as many seals in the air kit. It's pretty crazy, and all that is extra friction too.
You think Travis is going to pull out a guitar or something like that here in a second, or?
I'm just waiting for him to come out of the closet.
It's just too easy. Real quick, I gotta. Mediocre mountain biker, I've been seeing you in the chat. Good to see you in there. I got to get caught up on this. What do you think of the DVO fork? I don't have an opinion on the DVO fork because I haven't ridden it enough to have an opinion. Waiting for the Onyx. Oh yeah, real quick, if you haven't touched the like button, do it for James. Do it for James. Do the like button for James. And the like button for Travis, or you could hit the dislike button twice for Travis, but you can't. Yeah, it's got to be twice.
Well, I couldn't find it, but I have a seal kit for the X2, and it's pretty intense.
Now it's a bag of O-rings.
Yeah, it's insane.
That should be enough to scare most mechanics away immediately. So I guess if anybody has anything to add about suspension in the chat, throw it in here, because we are kind of getting close to changing topics. Kind of check in with some of these guys' most recent videos and talk to them about those. Yep, sweet. We got a link there in the chat from James. But
something we didn't talk about really was on your long descents and all that good stuff, and riding that changes a lot of elevation, or you're doing crazy long descents followed by long climbs or flat dirt road kind of stuff, is the inconsistency of an air system.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody ever run into issues like that personally?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling James would be the first person to say, yeah.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love MRP, but I ran into some issues with my stage. It couldn't keep up. Going to a park, it just bombing down a couple of runs. It just turned into an extremely stiff fork with no rebound at all, and so it just bounced everywhere. Pretty uncontrollable.
Yeah, and I'm not a chemist or a physicist, but that's just the ideal gas law at play there. And all that's saying is basically, as you reduce volume, you're going to cause an increase in temperature over time. And as you increase temperature, you're increasing pressure. So that's the old P equals T over V, if you know what that means. But and basically what happens is at the beginning of your run, you start with, let's say, 150 PSI, or in my case, like 350. And by the end of that long run, when you're sitting in your whatever just standard position, all of a sudden you have more like 400 PSI. And so everything reacts differently. And that's not even talking about the oil side of things as well.
And additionally, like in here, one of the questions is, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to answer this. Anyone else have harshness issues with the Fox 36 Grip 2? I've ridden the Grip 2 and it felt great. But I don't think I've had any harshness or quote harshness issues. You know, real quick, I don't know, Chump, what bike you're riding, but there might be a way to kind of be able to like dial those set or get some factory recommended settings in on that and then see if that will help. So like when I demoed a Yeti SB150, came stock with a Fox 36 with the Grip 2 damper, and for rider weight and all the other stuff, it had a bunch of recommended settings because essentially with the Grip 2 problem that you have with like the X2, because I mean you have high speed, low speed rebound, high speed, low speed compression, and you got to be able to find all that stuff and then adjust it to how it's going to work for you. So I don't know if I noticed that. Have you any of you guys ridden the Grip 2?
No, I'm not fancy.
Yeah.
Nope, I've not ridden it, but harshness is a pretty vague term. Could be your air springs wrong. Could be you're running too much high-speed compression. Could be you're not running enough low-speed compression, or you have too much rebound. So, yeah, hard to say.
Sticking on, an additional response, starting to think as more carbon wheels. That was it. That answered the question. Anytime I feel like anytime I've run carbon wheels on a bike, you'll notice, especially if it's a carbon bike, that you will have a much harsher feeling on the front. It's because the carbon wheels hold a more perfect round shape than aluminum wheels do. And so theoretically there's less rolling resistance. And there was the second that I got carbon rims for my Yeti SB6, that's kind of funny because I'm watching the playback and I saw me do this. So that made no sense. But I noticed it right off the bat. I'm like, oh, this is way more harsh. There's less comfort and all that other stuff. But yeah, we'll stick with that. Real quick, I just got my 34, so I don't know the cost yet, but figure it out soon. Real quick on a 34, I wouldn't say it's going to cost any less. It's not going to cost less, really, so to speak, the 36. The wiper seals might be like $2 cheaper or something than a 36, or if not $1. It's probably going to come down to the wiper seals. Do you have anything to add on that? Any one of you?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, sweet. Okay, the chattery. Steve Wise only ridden the Fit 4, and Fit 4 is pretty good for the most part. I'm a big fan of the regular Fit with ramp control. The MRP ramp control. Yeah, we got actually quite a bit of interaction here. It's all good stuff. But let's if you guys have more suspension questions, keep them going. But I'm gonna slightly shift gears here. James, so you've been riding in Sedona with Nolly Fest, as evident by your current videos, and you had a spectacular save the other day. I mean, what have you been enjoying most about riding in Sedona?
Yeah, so actually had 2 spectacular saves in both Nolly Fest.
I still have to see today's.
So the first one,
that was spectacular, by the way.
So interestingly enough, Dylan Crane, he's a factory rider for Nolly, was there, and I said, "Who wants to get some POV footage of themselves?" Nobody stood up, so he said, "How about you? How about me?" I said, "All right, I'll try to keep up." So neither of us had ridden this trail at all, and so we were just hauling down the trail. And this is Ridge Trail for anybody who's not familiar with the video. Ridge Trail in Sedona. And yeah, so you're just hauling down this, and we came up to basically there's a rock garden or 2 rock gardens right before you hit the road. And I had no idea it was coming up, and I saw him like slam on the brakes and then just go for it. And I looked, and my skills are not Dylan's skills by any means. So despite the fact me trying to keep up, he was moving at a very fast pace, but comfortable for him. It was quite uncomfortable for me. I was breathing pretty hard, and I yelled, "Oh my God!" Both my feet came unclipped as I'm running clipless at the moment, and I just somehow rolled off to the side of the trail and made it out all right. So yeah, that was one. And then today's latest video. Sorry to spoil it for you, RC, but we were riding transept, and I couldn't get my eyes up on the trail. I couldn't get them up, and so towards the end of it, there's a drop, and it's not a big drop. It's like 3 or 4 feet. And I didn't see it. And so I came up to it. Same thing. I had to unclip and kind of jump off my bike and go for a little jog there for a little bit. So, yeah, interesting times.
It's all good stuff. And every time I've ever been to Sedona, you're going to have some of those moments because they sneak up on you pretty quick. But you know what I think is just so cool about the town is just you can literally wake up in town and just get on your bike and be on the trail in 5 minutes and like ride all the way around. It's just like even if you're like Oak Creek or something like that, you just get up, go on Slim Shady down the High Line and back around like the transept or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really cool stuff like that. So now, Travis, what do you have for ride plans going into the summer with the big move and the summer months coming at you?
Okay, well, I'm going to hit up Kurt Gowdy as often as I can. I'm going to try and get down to Colorado a couple times. I'm going to somehow try to get to Angel Fire to ride with James.
Ooh.
Don't know if that's going to happen, but
Yeah, opening weekend. May 17th.
I'll be in Illinois. But then, I got the big move. I'm moving 10 days earlier than I expected. So June 5th, heading out to Minnesota. And once I get there, just check everything out in the surrounding area. And definitely I'm going to get up to Duluth.
That looks like great riding up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything I've seen looks great. Everybody tells me it's great. I have a friend that goes to the University of Wyoming here with me, and he's from Minneapolis, and he went up there and he was like, holy hell, I don't know what they're talking about Minnesota and the Midwest being flat and tame, because it's not up there. And
yep.
So that's got me pretty hyped up. And then I'm going to cross the river, try to go to La Crosse, Wisconsin. And it's all bluff country there. So there's actually some stuff to ride that's not just flat.
And you'll be a lot closer to the scene, the Vikings game or something like that. I mean,
oh yeah, I'm going to be in Rochester. So I'm only be 70 miles from Minneapolis. And yeah, I'm going to go see the Vikings as often as I can.
That's actually a lot easier for you versus me just going to a Broncos game or a Rockies game or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Abs right now. The Abs
right now. Yep.
And
I'll get to see the Wild too.
The Wild. Yeah, exactly. The Wild. It just seems like there's something about Minnesota and hockey. I don't know what it is that I'm putting together.
Like the state of hockey. I don't know.
It's almost just tragic that Minnesota team has not made the hockey playoffs this year.
Oh man, well, everyone's still pretty bitter about the North Stars up there. So you're the North remembers.
Well, I'm trying to think of like the last time a Canadian team's even won the Stanley Cup. But we digress a little bit.
Yeah, very much so.
Crosscheck says #Go Broncos. The Broncos are on their way to the Super Bowl starting and after the draft. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a long while. I might have to like have an outdoor gold like sports talk live stream where I find the most opinionated sports mountain bikers that I could possibly find, which it's kind of hard to do actually.
Yeah, these mountain bikers were weird. Most of them don't like ball sports.
I say Broncos, and it's like Shane will be like, "Who are those? What's that?" Be like,
"There's only one sport."
What is up, JF Rides? It's about time that we've seen you in the chat. Good to see that you got a new bike, and then you're out riding and doing that. And Brian Vaughn says they're all Canadians on the teams, and that's kind of the ironic part of the NHL. And all the other stuff. Well, did I mention any other topics for us to talk about? We can kind of go into a random discussion. If you have something in the chat, we probably have about 15 more minutes or less than that if you guys are all good. But is there anything you guys want to briefly talk about? Is there anything that you're really looking forward to in mountain biking?
No more cables.
Yeah, I tried SRAM Access the other day, and that was nice. I'm really looking forward to mountain biking.
That's it. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to. That and gearboxes, which is also sort of that's a cable.
Well, you're always going to have the brake hose if you want hydraulic hose.
No, man, just got to make them electronic too.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? A little delay.
That's just if they don't have any issues like Toyota.
Electronic. I think I'm going to go to electronic fly fishing after that.
How's that work? Does it just throw the rod for you?
It throws the rod for you, and first off, there are no cables, so there's no fishing line. I think what happens is it's the fly or the bait or whatever. It just automatically and with battery power comes back to you without any of the added cables. So,
so how does a tippet and leader work with a battery on it?
Yeah. These are 21st century problems that in the future that your kids are going to have to solve, Travis.
Okay, I'll put them on it.
Fingers crossed there's no solar flares that wipes it all out.
Yeah, no solar flares. Oh, here's a good question for you guys. Crank arm lengths. Crank arm lengths. I think I go about 175 millimeters on crank arm lengths. What are you guys going?
I'm at 175, but honestly, the idea of crank arm lengths being playing a huge role in the way that you ride is kind of a myth in my opinion. All that's going to happen is if you do a shorter crank arm length, you get a little bit more clearance and you spin up to your desired cadence faster. Whereas you go with a longer one, it's going to take you a little bit longer. You'll put a little more power down until you get to that desired cadence, and then you're just keeping everything the same.
Yeah, I run 170. Clearance issues because my bike is a very, very low bottom bracket. It's probably one of the lowest 29ers. I think, if not the lowest 29er on the market as far as bottom bracket, but it rails corners like no other.
Weird flex.
And of course, James rides a Fugitive, right?
Yep. I ride an Ollie Fugitive LT, set up in beast mode right now.
Set up in full beast.
Yeah, it's over forked and running in slack mode, so I think it's like a 64, 63 and a half head tube angle, and still climbing with that. But I mean, I didn't really notice a huge change in 170 to 175. If there was a big change, it would be getting up over technical stuff a little bit easier with the shorter crank length. but honestly, like a little bit of fitness will get you that too. So
Yeah, seriously.
I would say unless you're bashing at 175, 170, it doesn't matter.
Interesting. And then another kind of an interesting point. I haven't ever spent too much time thinking about crank arms. I've always been set on the 175, but somebody said, oh yeah, would you tire out faster on shorter crank arm lengths? It's hard. That's a tough question. I don't know.
Like I
just
said
ride
earlier,
more.
Yeah, that's other thing. Yeah, seriously.
You'll get up to your desired cadence faster, and whether the change in RPMs for you tires you out more or not is just like kind of a matter of your fitness. Now, there is some issue with hips and shorter crank arm lengths versus longer crank arm lengths, like how much range of motion you have and everything like that. So there's a lot of things to account for. And if your end range of motion on your hips sucks, a longer crank arm is going to cause you some issues in your seated position.
Yep. So yeah, that's all good stuff, guys. Real quick, I'm going to say this. If my buddy Cameron Neptune is still in the chat, he's going to make his outdoor gold debut in a week and a half, I think, or something like that. Sometime I'm going to take on the quote budget bike, the budget bike dilemma, the budget bike mystery. I'm going to have a piece of the action in that. But real quick, if you guys are still in the chat and you've not subscribed to James Stoup, man, I'm getting good at this. Or TKolbo MTB. I said James Stoup for the longest time, so I'm not gonna lie there.
I was just taking fun at Wadi Legend.
Well, but it was pretty good because Dale at MTB Trail Magic was like, well, that was actually pretty helpful. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to have that reaction to my comment, but he knows I poke fun. Yeah.
One of the first things I ever said to James was, "Stoop kid's afraid to leave his stoop." Corrected me real quick.
I get it all the time. I don't know why. Don't know why you all haven't figured out Stoup is closer to stout, which is what we all like to drink.
Yep, exactly, stout. And once you said it was more like a stout, I was like, okay, now I can get this right. I can get it right. So yeah, Cameron's still in the chat. We're gonna tackle that super biased and convoluted topic that is quote a budget bike. I've not solved the mystery, but I'm gonna pretend that I did.
I've got a budget bike that I just sold.
Oh, did you have a budget? What was it?
It was a Tide Ace Chinese carbon hardtail.
Oh,
yeah.
A super budget bike.
Yeah, it's a super bike, but budget. I mean, between everything I put into it, it was under $1,000.
That's the thing. And then what did you sell it for?
$1,000.
Oh, you okay? Good. So anything.
You want to start selling my bike stuff?
Yeah, right.
No, I just want you to send more of it to me.
Venmo. That's kind of the thing with some of that stuff is just like I've always lost my butt on selling something on Pink Bike or whatever. I'm taking a significant haircut wherever it is, whenever it is, Good, nice sales work, Travis.
And then what I do.
So I think it's getting close to time to wrap it up. Real quick, why don't you guys just do another final plug of your channel, starting with you, James. Just kind of tell us what you're doing, what you're looking forward to in this year, and then we'll go to Travis.
Yeah, my channel is riding a whole bunch of trails around the U.S., do a lot of racing, so a lot of POV stuff. I don't talk much during it because I'm too busy trying to ride as fast as I can and not crash. But I do have reviews of stuff that I like or don't like. That works for me. I typically pick things that don't break or are easy to service. And then also have a series called Path of the Privateer where I go over a lot of the stuff that is behind the scenes for some regular guy trying to be competitive in enduro racing. So some of the ones I've done already is bike build, some strength work, and FTP test, which people said was apparently very sad. But it worked out all right in the end. But yeah, we'll be doing some live streams with some folks going over the race runs. So I'll have each stage recorded, and we'll do a live stream where you guys can jump on, and we'll do real-time conversation feedback on those live streams about race runs. So yeah, stay tuned.
Now, Travis, thank you,
Yes.
James. But Travis,
No comment.
no comment. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, yes. That's what I was waiting for all night. The deposition, no comment. He's going to plead the fifth, all that other stuff.
I really lied about it all, didn't I?
No comment. But anyway, real quick, you have more school to do.
I have a lot more to do. Yeah.
And the one thing I know about school is I guess it never ends. So let us know a little bit about that and what we can expect from TKolbo going into the future here.
Okay. So, yeah, so I'm moving to Minnesota, like I said, because I'm going to the Mayo Clinic School of Health Sciences to get my doctorates of physical therapy. And so that's another 3 years plus a 1-year residency. So another 4 years of school.
I'm sorry.
I know. I'm too. It's funny because that's like the one doctorate's field in the medical field that really doesn't get paid that well, but sorry, it's pretty lax, I guess. But yeah, so until I move, I'm going to be trying to film here in Southeast Wyoming as much as possible and try to basically cover everything we have to offer over at Kirkouty, Happy Jack, and all that good stuff. And then when I move, just try before school starts to get as much over in the Midwest as possible. And then my content's really going to slow down a little bit because I'm going to be, in school again.
Maybe in a doctorate program or something,
Yeah, no big deal. no brag. But I'm going to kind of shift gears and start to do a little bit more MTB fitness related stuff. Like, here's this lift and why you as a mountain biker or even just a cyclist should be doing it. And here's the science behind it and how to do it properly and all that good stuff. I find there's a pretty severe lack of that stuff on YouTube that's actually good or informative. Plenty of fitness stuff, but not enough for cycling in general.
Yep. And that's kind of it. I mean, on a whole separate topic, fitness is huge on YouTube. If anybody's noticed, I mean, those guys really talking about how to do a push-up correctly or something like that. It's worth like 10 million views or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's how to do a push-up and mountain bike correctly. That's
yeah.
Yeah. And I will say for those who don't know, and Travis is my strength coach and he knows his stuff, like legit knows his stuff. I've demolished my max power and my power. And I was telling him the other day that I haven't bunny hopped my bike in like months and got like an extra 2 feet just doing his strength program and having not bunny hopped my bike in so long. So like he knows his stuff. So that content will be awesome when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited. So real quick, I know we don't want to talk too much more, but what was your power gain?
So my max power was prior about what was it, 850 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last time my max power hit was, we'll just round it up, 3 watts, and it was 2000. So I basically like doubled it.
Yeah, that's the power strength training right there, and power training. And there's a lot of things about strength training. It's not just like get on a program. There's a lot of specificity in it. So if you want to talk about that, just hit me up on my channel or email and we can talk about it more.
That sounds like, that sounds like a really, really good way to approach, kind of going into the future on your channel, talking about that kind of stuff. Cause a lot of us can relate to that. There is one fantastic comment that I got in here and it was killing me inside. I wanted to die laughing, but Jason with the mediocre mountain biker, you might need to make a video about how to beat biker in a push-up contest, Travis. That's YouTube gold right there. So I don't know. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about or not. But long story short I was hanging out with Paul the punter, and we were sitting here in the outdoor gold studio, which is totally not a woodshed. And Robert with the Biker Channel was running a live stream. And at some point, Paul eventually challenged Robert to a push-up contest to see who could do more push-ups. And Paul got his ass kicked by Robert. Like Robert schooled him. So this could be a real thing in mountain biking YouTube. If you make a video about how to beat Robert in a push-up contest, which I think it would be pretty hard. I think it would be pretty hard because he was doing a lot of push-ups.
Was he doing them right? Just saying.
Well,
if he's anything like me, no.
I got him then.
No. It was I mean, it was some of these vets, they just have push-ups for days, I guess. But anyway,
I'll do that for you, RC.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, you might have to how to beat Robert in a push-up contest or something like that. That could gain some traction with some of my friends of the channel. All that other stuff. But yeah, man, I'm stoked to hear about you going in that direction. I've been watching James's channel for a long time, and if you haven't checked them out, again, like I said, they're in the description. James Stoup and Travis Kolbo. Be sure to check them out. And I think that not to mention everyone was very drunk. I was not drunk, chump. I was perfectly sober. But that's the last words of everybody. But yeah, again, be sure to check those guys out. I think Fruta Fat Tire Festival, I want to say Fall Festival, but that's in the fall, obviously, and that has nothing to do with mountain biking. The Fruta Fat Tire Festival, I think, is not this week. It's not obviously not this weekend, but it is
next weekend.
Yeah. Like it gets just kind of convoluted because it's like always like that last weekend of April or first weekend of May. It's just kind of like right at the end and beginning of the month at the same time. So you know what that means? It's going to rain out there. Well, probably not.
So you can all come to Salida for the Funduro.
When's the Funduro?
That same weekend. They didn't
coordinate in Salida? Oh
yeah.
I want to go to an event in Salida really bad. I like Salida.
They do it up. I stupidly signed up for pro, so
you're gonna test out that TKolbo strength, fitness, and training.
Yeah, I'm more worried about the not knowing trails and large rocks.
Mm-hmm. And there's some pretty, yeah. Is it gonna all be up at S Mountain?
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Sweet, yeah, that's gonna be. There's some interesting features back there. The tag along had one of the first videos I've ever seen for like dude abides back there, and I'm like, what kind of trail is that? That's like that would get me killed, you know.
Yeah, I think that's stage 3.
Stage 3, yeah. Go figure. Yeah, you're all tired out, and here's the dude abides. Yep. Looked like there was just like all these alternative lines, and he was hitting those, and everything else was, I mean, still pretty violent. But anyway, yeah, stay tuned on my community tab on my channel. I'm hopefully will give like a Fruta Fat Tire update. I might kind of like go hang and throw a group ride or something. I'll go, oh, what do you know? I'm going to ride these trails at 18 Road at this time, meet at this booth or something like that. So be sure to check Instagram. Be sure to check the community tab, and we'll go from there. Maybe throw a little group ride, high five, all the other stuff. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for hopping on for the evening. I think it was a really good conversation about bike parts and stuff, but all the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the invite and having us. Yeah, conversation didn't get too deteriorated here between my bad jokes.
Bad jokes are the best jokes. TKolbo. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to have you two guys on again because this was pretty good.
Yeah.
Good for the most part. So again, be sure to check out their channels. You guys stay on the stream. I'm going to end the live part, and for everybody out there in the chat and a couple of the super chats out there, I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see y'all sometime soon. I guess maybe on another live stream. Maybe I'll have one next week. I don't know. But anyway, we'll see you later.